Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Harmonic TV. And of course today we're going to review another score from you guys. So without further ado, let's go. Alright, so today's piece is called, it's a Passacaglia in D minor for strings, and it's from the composer Leo Lu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and forgive me if it's not correct. But yeah, I'm super excited, and let's go. All right, beautiful, super nice piece, and yeah, in general, I really like Pasacalias and the whole feeling of the minor scale with that raised leading tone is always nice. Yeah, so I have some suggestions for you, and some of them are compositionally, which it's about your taste, and of course my taste because I'm also telling you those. I'm sorry. But the rest are about notation. So as usual, let's start with the notation stuff and stuff that you can improve on. All right. So I'm going to start with up here is that I always suggest to put also a number indication here. So you can also put, for example, like a quarter note and for example 40. I think it's around 40, right? And maybe also like a feeling under it if you want in English or in Italian that can also add to the experience that you are do what you want to create, because the more information you give to your musicians the better, but we don't want it to make it too much, but there is still room to put stuff here. Okay, now we go a bit further. In general, you don't really need to put violas, you don't need to make them plural, it's already implied. So for example, if you write for strings, you don't need to put the S here. Okay, actually this I had to double check because I also doubted it, that if it's really needed or not, but you don't need. And I also this thing, the parenthesis, or I think it's accolade or something, you don't really need to put it here. You should only put just a box here, the box thingy, and remove this accolade also to say that these are the same instrument, but they have two staffs. That's it. You don't need to put anything else here. Okay. And now moving on here, I always suggest to put an expression for your dynamic markings in front of your dynamic markings for the instrument, and also you can also write the amount of vibrato that they can give. So for example, I would start with like a little bit poco vibrato, because it's not that expressive yet. So a little bit of vibrato, and then it moves on and it gets more and more later. For example, you can write molto vibrato. What I noticed is that you can add way more dynamic markings to your score, because, for example, here I'm pretty sure the musicians would do a little bit dynamic here, like a crescendo here, because it's just natural, the to the D, because it goes up and it goes down again. So you can also put tiny bit of a dynamics here, which it makes it more maybe fluid, but that's also tasting that if you want to or not. And also make sure to put the stuff here as well, the dynamics, the expressions, the vibrato, and all that stuff. Okay, for notation stuff, that was mostly it, but now let's go talk about some compositionally stuff which you can perhaps work on. So in general, your piece sounds really amazing, and for example, if I'm listening to this in a concert hall, I'm gonna enjoy and I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. But I would like you to try to make it a bit more fluid for yourself as a test, okay? And now I'm gonna tell you what is to make it more fluid means, okay? First is that I see that like a traditional passacaglia, you have these boxes. So every time this changes, this goes back to the row of your notes. You have this guy here, and then a new texture starts, okay, which is pretty nice and it's traditional. But perhaps you want to try to somehow overlap these guys. For example, when this is going in, this D can already be introduced here, and it's being kept, and then it starts, okay? And just a lot of different possibilities here that you can try that to blend your textures. So for example, I think it's here. Yeah. This is your new part. Yeah. So for example, this F, this whole texture, dee da dee da dee da dee da da da, this one, try, for example, to create it with a bit of a crescendo from here even. You know, the whole 8th note, the 16th note texture. So instead of being D, da, di, da, da, it can be D, da, ga, di, ga, da, ga, di, ga, da, ga, da, ga, da, ga, da, ga, da, ga, and then it grows to the other texture, you know. And then this would give a feeling of more coherence and connection to your piece, okay? And so then it wouldn't be constantly that you would expect, because now you always expect, which I actually love. I love it when I expect that something cool is gonna come, but sometimes it would be nice to do the opposite. So you really blend them and you feel like, oh, this is the change, you know? Not that, this is the change, but you know, you realize gradually, oh yeah, oh wow, you know, something is coming out. And so you can try to work with that. Yeah, and this part, I would suggest to look at it one more time, because when you put this kind of texture, this when you have the F and the A here, like the double stops, will sound a bit different in real life than in what the like the samples are playing for you, because samples literally play two different pitches together, okay? But on a real instrument, in real life, that completely changes the character of that pitch, okay? And so make sure to try it out, maybe with a cellist, for example. You can ask online if you have friends to see if this is the sound that you want, you know, because in general, what I would tell you is that if you have a double stop and one musician is playing it, it will sound more dark, more condensed, more stretched, you know, because also the tones, like the sound and the whole vibration of these two pitches are going to clash a bit on the same instrument, so it's going to sound a bit more condensed. And this will be different than if they are playing it like on two different instruments, okay? Because on two different instruments, the sounds are they have their own space on the body of the instrument, and they would completely vibrate, and that would have a full resonance in the instrument, and then they would come out, okay? And then what you hear is a double stop, for example, a dyad, which are these two notes, or a triad, for example. So make sure to research a little bit about this, or if this is what you already wanted, then it's also good. And you might say, I really want these pitches, which is nice. And what you can do, for example, to make a little bit of a separation and to spread these pitches, for example, this can go to here, and the other one goes to the pitch above, and so you can mess around with these to see if you have more options, okay? And yeah, so let's see what else is here. Now here you have a ritenuto here, and this is also a bit notation-y and also compositionally, but you have a ritenuto here. In real life, how do you want this ritenuto to sound? Do you want it to sound like, because it's like tiki 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 tiki, do you want it to be like tiki 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 tiki, or do you want it to just be stretched? You know, the sound to be stretched, because then you realize, okay, then I need to employ another notation if you want the either one, okay? So this is also something to think, because in a software it works completely different, and it just does what, like a code, like it's just a code, you know. So it's good to know which one you want, and then you can change the notation, or you can change the ritenuto, or maybe you can put the ritenuto a bit before, or and so on and so on. Okay. And some other things. For example, here, the double piano that you have here, if you put a, it's also a bit notation thing, but if you put, what was it? Yeah, if you put a subito, for example, like pianissimo sub, then it means immediate, you know. It also gives a bit of a more serious situation, because it's like, oh, immediate. It's already clear that it's like loud here and it's soft, but subito adds a little bit of an extra touch, you know, and I like it if I see it in the score. It also shows that you know more what you are doing. And I would also suggest to put a double bar here after tempo changes and bringing it just a bit of a courtesy, you know, for your musician, for the conductor, because on it, just when you look, you're like, oh, here the tempo has changed. And let's go. Yeah, so remember when I was talking about the overlapping and stuff? This is where it's this is where I really love this, that you start this solo, and it's a solo, so that's even more interesting, on a downbeat here, and you don't even start this on the beat. You go from here, so it's stretched here until this G, and then it just follows. I love this, you know, it's really nice. First time I heard it, I was like, whoa, is this like a mistake? And I was like, oh no, super nice. And this is what I meant with overlapping. You already did a little bit here, and you could have done a little bit more of this stuff that somehow at some point it's like, whoa, now there was one message being sent, you know, the melody, but now, there is, for example, a counterpoint, which is completely different, and it's just, they're overlapping, but they're also supporting each other, you know, and then it's like a bit of a Renaissance music situation. There's like a complex, super crazy and complex polyphonic situation. And another thing that I wrote also here for you is that I would have loved to hear some answer and a question and answer. I wrote answer and reply here. So a question and answer. So for example, if this guy does this, then maybe the viola, instead of this one, this texture, these notes being in the violin, can be maybe here, you know, and then they would play this group plays, that group plays, the other group plays, you know. So, and then you also have a different color, even though it's a bit of the same pitch, you get a different color. And then also musicians will have a bit of a fun. And I'm not talking specifically just for here, but something you can experiment to create a bit of a question and answer situation. And I also put a line here. It would be nice if this G actually goes, like the melody fades through time, or even continues a bit more, then fades. So you don't really need to finish everything when your the row finishes. Okay, so just try this for yourself. At least do this, and you will see what I'm saying. And one important thing that I always say to everybody, like my students or myself also, is that when you change something, always listen from way back. So listen at least from here, okay? And close your eyes and just listen to see what it feels. Because if you just play here and look at it, this doesn't really make sense, because music needs time to be understandable, okay? To be understood. And also, this is the last tip. And I would have liked it if you would have do the question and answer also here, and perhaps it could have been even like midbar, you know, with the, so for example, this one starts this guy here, these 4 notes in the violas, and from here it would transfer to this. So then you would have like a something like this, you know? And you would have a different colors, different spaces. These are techniques that were explored a little bit in the romantic era, you know, with the instrumentation and stuff like Ravel, Debussy, and other homies like that. Yeah, and then the last tip that I have for you, actually this is the last one, and that is this. Always when you have a jump in your score, really think about it, because some jumps are not not doable. For example, this jump is almost not impossible, it's doable, but it's not going to be in tune. And also you have a double stop here. Well, no, actually it's a DVZ. Yeah, sorry. It's a DVZ, but the jump here, in a normal situation, it will be a bit, it might be a bit out of tune. So always be aware with the jumps and stuff, okay? And because, for example, this here, it's super nice because it's open strings, and they're just playing the G, and then they just swap, and then they do a triple piano here, and the rest similar. But if you have jumps, just be careful, or consult a violinist, or just get a cheap violin from AliExpress or something, and try it out for yourself. And yeah, that was it. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to share it with your friends. And also for you guys, if you liked it, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And always, if you have scores, send them to me at submissions@homayun.tv. Well, have a good day. Homayun out.